Hello everybody, how you all doing? My name is Rafael and welcome to the channel. Today I have a different type of video. Today I want to talk about the best method I have personally found for farming materials. Running out of materials has been my biggest problem ever since Title Update 15 came out. The reasons are mainly two. First of all, I have been donating all my items to the expertise level so I can level that up. So I'm not deconstructing as many items as I used to. Deconstructing doesn't offer a crazy amount of materials, but it's still something. And the second reason, of course, is because I play mostly Countdown. You see, before Countdown was a thing, I would normally just farm control points, running from one control point to another. You would find material caches, you would do control points, and the supply rooms would reward you with materials. So overall, you had a very stable income of materials on daily basis, or how many times you played the game, because you would do a routine, I would do a routine that would reward me with some materials on a daily basis. Now, with Countdown being the best place to farm loot, I have been spending most of my time in there, and suddenly Countdown doesn't offer that many materials. Sure, enemies will drop some blues and you can deconstruct some pieces if you don't want to invest that to your expertise level or if you have it already proficient, but it's not even close to what it used to be. I'm obviously talking about these materials over here: steel, ceramic, polycarbonate, carbon fiber, electronics, titanium, and printer filament. The main use of these materials is of course recalibration, but if you're brave enough, you can also use them to craft some optimization materials in the crafting bench. However, the cost for that will be extremely high, so I wouldn't really recommend it. So since I'm always testing new builds for my videos and I'm changing talents and I'm changing attributes and this and that, you can imagine that I recalibrate a lot of items. So yesterday I decided to figure out what's the best method to farm materials. I've heard a bunch of rumors, however I decided to test out just the ones that made more sense to me. So I tried out control point farm, which meant I was getting materials from the supply room, from the NPCs I killed, from the weapons I deconstructed, and from the open world caches until I got to that control point, and of course from my SHD watch. For those of you who don't know, the SHD watch can give you either 50 green materials or 25 blue materials or 10 printer filament for each level you have. So if you have 5 levels, you can decide what you need most and you can invest those 5 levels in those materials. I then tried one of the worst ideas I've ever had or I've ever read about, and then I decided to try it out, which was farming Countdown and deconstructing everything. The third farm method was simply to run around and collect materials, and the last method was to farm SHD levels and then use those SHD levels from your watch in order to get materials. You notice how 2 out of the 4 ideas sound stupid as fuck? Yeah, they were stupid as fuck, so let's just get into it. The initial plan was to farm 1 hour with each method and compare my results. The 2 worst methods were of course the Countdown farm, first of all, which performed much worse than what I was expecting at first. Each run took me about 70 minutes on average, and I was getting around 150, maybe 200 materials if we're being too generous, and that was after deconstructing about 45 with 60 items, so it was a big waste of time. Keep in mind that Countdown can go wrong. Players can leave, you might get disconnected, or your game might crash. Any of those things happen, it screws up your run. You will not get to the hunters at the final stage where, you know, a lot of items drop. You will have probably half the amount of items we just talked about. Another big issue with that method, of course, was that it takes 17 minutes on average for a round for me, which meant that we could fit 3 runs in that 1 hour. But even if I gave an extra 10 minutes and let's say we had 4 runs in 70 minutes, we would still get about 1,000 materials, maybe less, definitely not more than that, so it's really not worth it. The other method, which turned out to be awful as well, was farming for SHD levels with the good old convoy farm. The reason for it being an awful waste of time and of my energy was simply the fact that convoys are not in a fixed position on the map, meaning you might not be able to find any convoys to do. But even if you're able to farm for an entire hour convoys without having any issues finding them, you will need about 2 convoys per level. One level requires you 700,000 XP, and one convoy without any directives gives you about 300,000 of XP. Yes, I know the game says it only rewards you with half of that, with about 150k, but as you can see here, when I start this convoy, I have 89 XP, and when I will finish it, I will have 400 something. 404,000, 405,000, somewhere around there. And the only thing I did was that convoy. I don't know why, but apparently you get extra XP from kills, from weak points, from headshots, things like that. It all adds up, so you get a lot more than just 150 XP. You need 700k for one level. One convoy gives you on average 300k, so you need about 2.5 convoys for a level. But even if we say that you need 2 convoys per level, if we assume you need about 3.5 minutes on average for a convoy, that's 7 minutes for a level, which equals to less than 10 levels per hour. The 3.5 minutes include finding the convoy on the map, fast traveling next to it, and then completing it. Some will be faster than others, obviously, but on average I found myself needing about 3 with 4 minutes to complete a convoy, and that was when I was able to actually find them as soon as I completed the previous one. Most case scenario, I completed one convoy, maybe I did 1 or 2 more, but then I had to reset my map, see if there are any close to safe houses and all those things. In all honesty, it's not really worth it. I was actually lucky and I was able to get 10 levels in an hour, which was more than I was expecting. I was expecting to get 8 or 9, but the only reason I actually managed to get 10 levels was because I found some elite convoys which gave me more XP, and because I got very lucky with some convoys spawning the enemies in, you know, a truck right in front of me, where I was able to just set them on fire and just shoot them down without having to worry too much, without dealing with any issues, completing the convoys very, very fast. Overall, it's not really worth it. Either way, even if it works great, it doesn't really matter. 10 HHD watts levels mean we can get 500 green materials or 250 blue ones or 100 printer filament in an hour. That's awful. That's actually worse than the countdown. Now moving on to the 2 best methods. The second best method was just running around the map and collecting materials. There are specific parts of the map, like this one over here, the East Mall area, which has True Sons occupying it, that are filled with material crates and material caches, call them however you like, all over the map. However, you will find running around collecting shit very boring, at least that's what I realized after the first 15 minutes. You will also waste a lot of time trying to avoid enemies, to avoid, territory controls and broadcasts, whatever they're called, and not bounties, but, the open world activities where the hostage situations, there you go. Control points might be in the way. You need to go left, you need to go right, you need to rotate, blah, blah, blah. It's, I found myself getting frustrated with having to, open my map and see how I can avoid the territory control in front of me without leaving this good area of materials, right? So even though it is a very good method, you can farm quite a lot of materials. So the best method that can give you more than 2,000 materials in an hour is simply go into an area, do one control point at first, and after you capture that control point, donate to the control point officer some resources in order to give you the ability to spot material caches in the open world. If you donate those materials to the control point officer, when you walk past a material cache, you will see that cache glowing in orange color. That makes it a lot easier for you to notice and to open every little box in the map and get extra materials. Now, after you've done that, simply clear the entire area from control points, from territory controls, from convoys, from everything, without, of course, fast traveling to the safe house. From control point A, go to control point B, and while you're going there, make sure you clear the area from any open world activities, from any caches that may be lying around, and that's pretty much it. East Mall area, the area I'm showing you right now, is probably the richest area in the entire map, at least to my knowledge. It has an insane amount of material caches, and that's why I didn't do my test there, because I wanted to be objective about it. So I don't even know how many materials you can get from out there. I'm guessing you can get more than 2.5k. The results after an hour of doing control points, convoys that happened to be on my way, as well as collecting pretty much every cache I found in this area of the map, was this. We got 205 steel, 291 ceramics, 181 polycarbonate, 168 carbon fiber, 395 electronics, 544 titanium, and 330 printer filament. That makes a total of 2,114 materials in just an hour. And that was without farming an area of the map that I knew very well, or that I knew that it has a lot of boxes in it. So how did I get so many materials? Because obviously this is not just supply rooms, and this is not just, material caches in the open world. Well, I had a lot of sources for materials. First one, of course, is killing enemies. When you kill an enemy, there is a chance that he will drop some materials. The second way of getting materials are the supply rooms in the control points, which have 4 or 5 caches that you can open and get some materials. The third source of materials is the open world caches. The fourth is the SHD watch levels, which as you can see in the before and after picture that I have right now on your screens, I got 8 levels. And the fifth source of materials is from deconstructing all the loot I got, except a couple of pieces that I needed it. In the 2 screenshots before and after, you can see my levels. You can see that this is not, some photos taken a week apart or anything like that. This was just completed in 8 levels in just an hour. It's important to mention here that I got the 330 printer filaments because I completed a couple of control points in targeted loot areas with gear mods. So everything I was deconstructing, or at least the big majority of what I was deconstructing, was giving me printer filaments. Obviously, if you do this run in an area that doesn't have gear mods as its targeted loot, you will get less printer filament, but you will get more ceramics, more steel, depends on what you're going after. So yeah, that's it, guys. This is the best method I know for farming materials. It's both super efficient, but also super entertaining. It also doesn't feel like a chore because you're doing a little bit of everything. You're getting SHD levels, you're getting materials, you're getting the chance to farm some good gear. I hope that you found the video helpful and that you enjoyed it. If you want to support the channel, make sure to subscribe and to like the video. Thank you very much for watching and for supporting. Have a wonderful day, everybody. Bye bye.